So Jonathan, were you looking forward to March, or how did you find February?
Well, Feb has been quite tasking. Maybe first I should mention thank you for the host. I'm very delighted to be here.
Yes.
Feb has been tasking in regards to the work we've been doing. We are doing a lot of field work as Red Cross and Ministry of Health together with KCCA. Doing mobile sensitization of the public on the same issue we are here for, Mpox.
You mentioned about the organizations, but tell us about you. We want to know. We are very curious about this guy with a deep voice.
Angel, before Jonathan even tells us about himself, I want to ask, and all of us, but starting with Jonathan.
Okay.
Sweet or sour?
Sweet. Sweet.
Why sweet?
Well, I think I would love a bit of sweetness would do right now.
You do have a sweet tooth?
Yeah, I do.
You love cake like her?
I do.
Miss sour?
Cake, ice cream.
But today I decided I was going to say sour.
Miss sour. Angel?
Me too,
Me,
sour.
it's sour. Sour because I feel sugary things have endangered us for a long time. So, Zandi wa katukuma, ndiwa against all
I would like to remind you about your new task.
Okay.
The resolution this year.
Oh.
So you should opt for sour.
I started today.
Oh.
Tell us about yourself, Jonathan.
Well, about myself, as I've already mentioned, I'm a sweet tooth. I love sweet things, notwithstanding the implication of sweet things. So because I'm trained, I know how to regulate it, but I'm a sweet tooth.
Okay.
About myself, I'm basically an artist. I'm a visual artist. Alongside other things I do, like
visual artists,
work,
animations,
paintings, drawing, sculpture, fountains, those things. But this is my other work, health service, under Red Cross. I'm a member. I'm a senior member under Red Cross, and basically that's it. There isn't much to know about me.
Senior member, what makes you a senior member?
Well, there are different types of membership under Red Cross.
Okay.
And one of those is labeled senior membership, and I'm under senior membership.
Does it, what I mean, do you have to be in Red Cross for so many years to become a senior member?
Well, it does have, the time you've been in Red Cross has an implication on whether you're a senior member or not, but not entirely. Yes, not entirely.
Well, thank you for joining us, Jonathan. Well, in-house we have a very crucial discussion topic, and that is Mpox is closer than we think. And this is the public. If you want to join this discussion, use the numbers currently on your screen, or drop a comment from wherever you're watching us from, or get your WhatsApp and save up this number 0746405060. We are finding out in cha Mpox onako olwalero wachibayita monkeypox era mwami Jonathan agenda kubanga tutegeeza butereevu ddala engeri gyetusobola okubanga twekuumiramu. So Jonathan, good to have you on the Sunrise Show.
Thank you.
Yes, and tell us more about this monkeypox, Mpox thing that is moving around, because over the weekend, Ministry of Health came out and said, wawa yafudde Ebola. Twalaba Ebola yaliwo, yafudde, ate ne Mpox bagambye nti wali. Osobola okubanga otutambuza olugendo.
Yeah, well, monkeypox, it's okay ddala. It's just like Ebola. It's a viral disease. It's spread by virus, and it's easily transmitted by contact and a few other things that I'll mention. But monkeypox comes just like how we hear it. It's first stressed in monkeys. The first scenario we get of monkeypox, that monkeypox, it's in monkeys, and it's in 1958, and research that was being made on monkeys, and then monkeys start showing the signs of a pox-like disease. So that's where monkeypox comes from. Yeah, the very first records of monkeypox in history. So, monkeypox, that's it about monkeypox really.
Okay. Yes. Now, Ministry of Health has come out to put up different measures, especially for us, the public. So, njagala otutambu chivudde wa chavudde mu kyalo, chavudde Congo, South Sudan, twagala okutegeera.
Okay. So, monkeypox generally, nga we ngambye, it was first traced in monkeys. So it is there's a term. It's called zoonotic diseases. These are diseases that that are contracted from animals. Yeah?
Okay.
For example, now monkeypox, it's from monkeys, but we also know other animals that inhabit it or that can easily transfer it are rodents, squirrels, the different types of squirrels. So in our scenario, in the case of Uganda, there's no, we can't be certain that it came from a monkey, but what we can say is someone carried it in, perhaps, or maybe it really came from a monkey. So there is no definite answer for how it came into our country. I'll speak for Uganda, but we know that it's a disease that comes from animals, and it's contracted by people by contact with animals.
From animals to us humans.
Yes.
So,
So
Mr. Towers, I wanted to ask, it said that Mpox and smallpox are in the same class.
Yes.
How related is this?
Well, besides the signs and symptoms, there isn't much relation to them, except for the fact that they all manifest as measles, like there are swellings that come, pores that come up on your body all over. If you've seen the images of what Mpox looks like. So besides that, there's not much difference because they transfer through the same mediums, the same way, and yeah, the implications are the same. Irritation of the skin, fevers, headaches, yes.
Okay. There is a report from UNICEF, which was 1st of December to 31st, 2024, but of course it was published in, on 16th January 2025, and it is giving the statistics that in December, Uganda reported 1,353 confirmed Mpox cases, and across 66 districts. Which districts or areas are most affected by Mpox, and why?
Now, firstly, to answer that, I would say that statistical analysis, yes, it is true. It's what it was given. And as it mentioned in the analysis, those were the confirmed cases, meaning those are the cases that were reported, but there are those that were never reported, because we have people in community that either out of ignorance or they don't know what it is that they are facing or experiencing, they don't report, or sometimes out of fear of what it could mean for them. So the confirmed cases are those ones, but they are not entirely the totality of what was on ground. So going by your question of what districts are these that are mostly affected by this, in the start, we first got our first case in Nakasongo, yeah, and then from then on, that was in September 2024, the first reported case, yeah, our stress reported, because as I've explained, those are the ones that were gotten, yes. So in Nakasongo, from then on, it spreads to different districts. I can mention but a few, Kasese, yeah, and of course it came into Kampala metropolitan, and you asked which districts are most affected. Based on reports and history, it's Kampala metropolitan, because by the end of last year, 73% of the cases were within Kampala. And why this Kampala was most affected, it's because given the nature of the disease, Mpox, it transfers by contact through casual sex, to mention but a few. And so
Mr. Jonathan, not to mention but a few, so
When you say casual sex and in Kampala, are we so highly, like, are we very sexually active
well,
compared to the cold areas like in the West?
well, there is no definite answer again for that, whether we are more sexually active than them. But what I can say is Kampala, given that it's a commercial center and it's highly populated, we have a lot of people that are casual workers, not just casual sex workers. For example, I mean border people, taxi people, the youth. There's a lot of drug abuse. Not that it's not in the other districts, it is there. But given the nature of Kampala, our setting, we have a lot of these people, and also we have a lot of casual sex workers. So because of that, many people indulge in that. Yes.
Mr. Tamazi, recently we're told that this Mpox came from Congo, and on 28th February, BBC News made a report and said that about or more than 500 people, 500 patients who are infected with Mpox fled the hospital due to a looting.
That's in Uganda?
In Congo.
Okay.
And equipment was stolen. Now, it being that it's coming from there, how effective is it going to be here? More than 500 people fled.
Yeah.
And these were people who were infected, yet it came from there. And these people were not identified.
No, not identified.
Yes, plus the equipment being stolen.
Now, how effective that is here?
Yes.
I suppose you mean how does it
How is it
implicate
going
us
to affect
as
us? Yes.
a nation? Now, one, regarding that exact question, it is true, Congo is where the first case, even in history, the first case in Africa is reported. That's in 1970, probably because of the rainforests they have and the monkeys, a lot of monkeys and primates there, the non-human primates. Why people fled, I can't speak for that, but perhaps what I can say
It was
is
because of a looting, because of the conflicts that are going on.
the
right
conflicts,
now.
yes,
Yeah.
that are going on. And they took the equipment from the
Yes.
hospitals. That would directly mean that Ugandans are susceptible to this too, because when Congo is just next to us, and of course there are these there are conditions and terms, okay, there are processes people go through to cross borders, but not entirely. So people from Congo can as well freely cross into Uganda, and there is no telling who has yet and who doesn't, because by the time someone shows the signs of Mpox, they have been with it for some time. So it is potentially true that someone carried it from Congo and perhaps brought it in, or a Ugandan was in Congo and contracted it and brought it in. But in regards to your question, that is it is highly risky, both for Congo and us, because you don't know who is coming in and who is going out, and so probably that's where it leaked into our country. Yes.
Maybe what we should also let our people know is that Mr. Jonathan here has mentioned something very critical,
Yes.
giving that percentage, that 78% of Kampala, of
About
cases are in
73.
Kampala, 73.
Yeah, then.
Yes. Now, it is important for us to know that over 2 million people every day
Yes.
come to
The city.
Kampala, the city center. So that is why that rate can easily shoot, and it is high, leaving all factors constant.
Yes.
That's the active sexual behaviors, casual sex and what, because I mean, these things come with urbanization.
They do.
But it is important to know that because there are so many people that flood the capital city, so these cases are bound to happen and rise.
Ms. Tantam, as you talked about the symptoms, what are the main symptoms that someone should look
And the
out
signs
to?
related. Obubonero.
The first symptoms.
Okay. The first symptoms are for any infection, they are what we would call dry signs
Yes.
and wet signs. Normally, the very first ones are the dry signs.
Dry
And
signs is easily wet.
Now, dry signs, we have fevers, rampant and consistent fever. And then we have body aches. Body aches, like you feel like your body aches everywhere. And then general body weakness, of course. Those are the first. If
So
to
it's
answer
possible
exact
to
question.
mistake Mpox signs for malaria.
It is very possible, because the signs and symptoms are as those of malaria, or could be of any disease, depending on the immunity of the person. Some people showcase them differently.
Is there any outstanding sign of Mpox that differentiates it from malaria? Maybe rashes on the body. I saw somebody with rashes and I was like, oh.
Now there we've started entering the wet signs, the signs that
this-
are
okay,
evident.
I get
And
it.
normally, the rashes begin from private areas, the genitals. Yeah, that's why it's hard to track. Normally, they start from the private areas.
Why
So it's
so?
a person.
Why the private areas?
Well, I would say that because they are more, they are highly susceptible to. Usually, when sickness comes, it starts from there. I'm looking for simpler ways to explain this. For example, animals like dogs, when they want to understand you better, they normally sniff around your, if you've noticed. Because normally the human body communicates primarily from those areas
Genitals.
to release,
A certain
to release frequencies or communications
Yes.
about you. So I love to I can easily put it that these are areas that are usually showing signs first before.
But you had said it can be transmitted sexually among the
Yes.
casual sex.
Yes.
Could you expound more on that?
By casual sex, we mean, of course, sex workers, and also the fact that you may not see who has Mpox from the start until they start showing the sores on the body. So the person can be having it, they're infected, and you have sex with them. And when you have any transaction between your fluids and theirs, you contract this. So sex is one of those activities by which we transact fluids.
Transmit.
When
Yes,
you talk
transmit.
about fluids, if someone uses a condom during the sex transmission, do they still get transmitted?
If you have sex with the person that has Mpox, you still can transmit, because the activity of sex is an intense one. Now, I'm not going into details of it, but there's sweat involved. So even sweat is enough. If, for example, I make contact with your sweat, I can easily contract the virus. Yes.
Last week, a renowned doctor,
Yes.
Dr. Rashid Rukwago, came out, and he was now healed, of course, but he came out and gave his experience of this Mpox. And he mentioned something that is critical. Maybe you can explain why it happens that way. That he was first treated malaria, and it took long for the doctors to even identify, even to know that he has Mpox. Why is it so? Because imagine, of course, you've given us the dry signs and all, and feeling, but isn't there like a specific test in the blood that can show that this is not malaria just, but this could be Mpox?
Well, that's a very good question. Firstly, I'll begin by mentioning for people that are acquainted with the scriptures and know the Bible says in Hosea somewhere that my people die for a lack of knowledge. So that is very true in the medical field, because we succumb to medical conditions that we are not aware of. Yeah. Why I'm saying this is because in the time, Mpox is now known. It's starting to get known, and all public health facilities are being equipped on how to handle it. But before, I love to think in the time when this doctor has been treated for malaria, it wasn't a very popular thing. People didn't quite know about it. So in the medicine world, it helps for the medical practitioners to know what they are going to treat. So in that time, Mpox was not quite known. I love to think so. So it was alien, it was strange. So I'm sure they were testing, but they were testing for the things they suspect. Because Mpox was not in the realm of things they know or they knew then. It was not something they were looking for. It's like how I mentioned Hosea, people die for what they don't know, because they don't know things. So I can imagine the doctors didn't quite suspect it because they didn't know it in the first place then, in the time of his checking. So but now that we know and we have gotten familiar and acquainted with Mpox, they are more aware. So when they check for things and they are not there, they know what to look out for too.
Mr. Jonathan, I'm very curious to understand. When I sit next to someone in a taxi, can I get this Mpox? Or if I sit on a border and I give this gentleman money, can I contract Mpox?
Very much. The thing with Mpox is it's spread by contact. When you make contact with an infected person, if I sat in a taxi, as you mentioned, next to someone who has Mpox, if I made contact with them with my either clothes or my skin, I've carried the virus, because people are always emitting some something on their DNA, either through sweat or, yes, you've carried the virus, but it doesn't mean it has affected you yet. You've simply carried it. That's why we have SOPs, like washing hands with soap constantly. When you go back home, you spend the whole day doing things, going places, sitting in taxis, wash your clothes immediately. Why we do these SOPs is so that we don't give room for this virus to infect us, get into us. That's the difference. So you can carry the virus, but it does not necessarily mean that it has infected you yet, unless if you give it chance to enter your body.
Does it affect children?
It does.
Mr. Therese, I wanted to ask, are there any myths related to Mpox?
Any?
Myths.
Myths? Yes, very much. Through doing this field work we've been doing as Red Cross, we found a lot of myths. One, the people we go to talk to, sensitize, tell them about Mpox and to watch out. Some people think it was generated in a lab. It's not true. As I've already shared by history, this was backtracked to 1958 through this research being done, and Mark started showcasing this. So no, it's not made in a lab. The other myth we usually find is it's a government ploy. Already my first point explains it. This is older than government. It has been there. We are now facing it, so it has nothing to do with government. Then the other myth we have is it's sexually transmitted. It can be transmitted by sex, but it's not entirely sexually transmitted. As I've explained, even contact with an infected person can transfer this virus to you.
But despite all this, are there any vaccines that have been made to treat the
Mpox? Very much. There are vaccines. The only thing is they are limited. Just given the nature of vaccines, as I've mentioned, this is a new thing we are facing. It has not been there, like how you can say malaria, and now we have treatments for malaria. It's something that we are, let's say, we are getting, it was first stressed in animals. So in people, it's something that was not usual. So they are just coming up with vaccines, but we do have vaccines. In fact, Uganda was given some donation of vaccines, which were used, and then we are still getting more from African CDC, and other health organizations that are coming up.
There's something Angel mentioned, and maybe we just swept it on top, but maybe you can give us a detail. UNICEF comes up and says that children between 10 and 18 years are the ones who are most affected by Mpox. Why is it so, and what should that parent actually, why should do you think parents should even take note of this? Because I feel that is kind of scary.
Yes.
Why is it mainly in children?
Well, given the nature of all disease, normally children don't work well with disease. One reason I could give is because their immunity has not yet gained the impulsiveness or the strength that we have as older people, because we've gone through these diseases and we face them, so our immunities are much stronger than children, of course. So also given the fact that Mpox is a new experience, as I've said, not entirely old, it's a new experience. Normally what happens when a body is infected by some virus, the body gains what we call cellular memory, which it generates antibiotics that are directed to fighting this new thing in the body. So a viral infection you've gone through over and over again, for example, flu. Why flu doesn't kill? There's a time people used to die of flu, but why it doesn't kill anymore? It's because it has come in and it has been healed and over again. So due to cellular memory, the cells know how to handle it, how to go about it. So I love to think that in children, their immunity is just getting awakened to new things. So when they are affected, let's say by Mpox, it's entirely new because already it's new to us. So the body doesn't know how to deal with it, and also given that the body is weak, the immunity is weak.
Let's receive feedback from our audience, and as we get back into the discussion, if you are watching us and very curious to understand this Mpox disease, please use the number scrolling on your screen, that is 0746 0405060. It is a WhatsApp number, or you can also send us a direct SMS. We'll be asking Mr. Ntabazi Jonathan on this Mpox disease. So if you are there, please send in those questions promptly, or any comments. We'll be reading them very, very much timely. Let's get back into the discussion. And well, Mwami Ntabazi, nze njagala kutegeera kino kirwadde ekya Mpox ne Ebola waki tweyongera okuba nga tubiraba mu Uganda?
Ekisookera ddala lwaki tweyongera okuba nga tubiraba mu Uganda, I can say that we have there is a redundancy in the public about these things. One, because of the myths I've mentioned. There are people that strongly believe these are engineered in lab and they are government tools and what. So they don't take them as seriously as they should. So in Uganda, I could probably say of Lagajav, and some people, like for example, in field, we go speak to some people. There are people that will boldly tell you them that wash your hands with soap, do this and
COVID
this.
the things that they tell you, the sagara
exactly. And someone will tell you that, are you guys giving us soap? So there is this unseriousness in the public about these things because of those myths, as I've said, but also we as a nation, let's say we are getting there in terms of facilitation. We don't have our health services are not as up there yet. But again, as I mentioned, the biggest thing, these things we can handle them without even these facilitations, if only people take them seriously. So I think that's the main reason.
Mr. Ntabazi, earlier you said, you confirmed that smallpox and Mpox are in the same class.
Yes.
Now, and you also say that the medication is quite limited.
Yeah.
Can the medicine that is used to treat smallpox be used to treat Mpox?
It can support. In fact, what we call this medicine, it's the English term we use is supportive treatment. Because why we call it supportive treatment? Because there is no absolute treatment for a viral disease. That one people should know. Like that I'll take one pill and then it is gone. Or the medication we get is just to support our bodies fight these things out of us. That's why it's called supportive treatment. So because they share many symptoms and character in terms of character of this virus, the vaccination for Mpox can as well help with smallpox. How
long does the treatment take when someone is infected?
Normally, depending on their immunity or in their immune system, it should take about 2 to 4 weeks of treatment.
Let me ask Gigi, what are white blood cells called in Uganda?
Obutafali oburwanyisa endwadde mu mubiri, white blood cells. But Jonathan mentioned something. Let us I want to ask about the vaccine. You said there is some that was donated to Uganda, and you know now there are those vaccines that are brought on market, influenza, pneumonia, polio, what, and they are given prior. Is it the same with the Mpox? Is it vaccinated? When is someone supposed to receive this vaccine? And maybe you can connect it to is Ministry of Health pushing Ugandans to have this vaccine? What arrangement is there about this vaccine?
Now, the vaccine of Mpox is given in 2 doses. The first dose someone receives, they're supposed to receive the second one after about 28 days. The second dose to
close to a month.
Yes, close to a month. What the Ministry of Health is doing about it is, before I get to the Ministry of Health, you mentioned something to do with polio and all the rest, and the question that I got before. The thing about Mpox is its toll on a person will depend on many things. Their immunity, that's one. Because some of the cases we've had, the fatal cases, the death cases that have gone because of Mpox, are due to other conditions that were in that person's body.
If someone has diabetes, pressure, those diseases.
So that to administer the vaccine, to your question of Mpox, they follow certain criteria. For example, if we found certain, let's say, disease in your body, well, it would definitely necessitate we handle this one, and then because there's a kind of a criteria followed. Yeah. But back to the Ministry of Health, what we are doing. Our Minister of Health, Dr. Ruth Achen, yeah, she has been making, speeches on this and press conferences and giving us where we are so far as a nation. And one, what the Ministry of Health is doing, of course, they are pushing to get more vaccines in, yeah, through their alliances with these different organizations, like African CDC, the medical-related organizations. So Ministry of Health is pushing for that, and also they are equipping health facilities, public health facilities, to be able to handle Mpox cases. Okay. Because primarily we have one isolation center, which is in Entebbe. But given that it's one, it cannot be sufficient for the many cases that have been coming up. So they have been equipping all public health centers to be able to handle this, and also train health workers, and of course supporting initiatives like public awareness. Like I mentioned, we are in field, Red Cross is in field, people are teaching people on how to avoid this. So yes.
Mr. Ntalesi, what should someone do when they suspect that they have Mpox?
Well, first thing someone should do when you suspect you have Mpox is seek medical help. Find any public health center and turn yourself in. You're not, as she said, suspect. You're suspecting. So I want to rule out the fact that it is what? Mpox. Because if it's Mpox, we've all learned it's contagious. Yeah. So when you suspect you have, the safest way is turn yourself in and check. If it is there, have it treated. Because the earlier it is treated, the safer and the better.
On that same note, Mwami Ntabazi, nze njagala kutegeera omusujja gumala ng'ennaku 3 okulabika ate omwezi ogwedde batugamba Ebola amala ennaku nga 21 days. Does Mpox have a range where it comes out to reveal that now you have it?
Yeah. Normally in 2 weeks you should by the end of 2 weeks someone must have developed the spots and the pores on the skin, the rashes.
Now yes. you said you come from the Red Cross.
Yes, very much.
And what is your role as Red Cross? What are you doing in communities such that maybe if someone saw someone with a Red Cross,
we even feared to come to collect our blood.
Because Red Cross, we know you as you take our blood, you come when there is a fire, so you're doing. So what are you doing as Red Cross in the communities in regard to Mpox?
Well, before I get to in regard to Mpox, firstly, as she has mentioned, people know Red Cross for collecting blood. Well, Red Cross is an organization. It's bigger than just collecting blood. They do community support activities like cleaning up communities. Basically, Red Cross is there to help support communities through health. For example, now that we have a notion of Mpox and these pandemics that are coming up, Red Cross takes it upon themselves because it's voluntary work. We have principles that underline our activity. It's voluntary work. They take it upon themselves or ourselves to go and sensitize people regarding this and empower them so that we don't see a kind of like mass death and mass suffering, because Red Cross is about spreading love. Like let everyone have that feel of humanity. That's what underlines Red Cross in a few words. So in regards to Mpox and Ebola, Red Cross has been going out to communities to sensitize people, tell people about what is going on, give them SOPs, how to avoid it. Yeah, basically that's it.
When you say Red Cross, how can someone know that you're from Red Cross? Do you have different things that identify you?
Yes, very much. Red Cross official attire is a Red Cross jacket. When someone carries a Red Cross jacket on them, it's the red jacket with a cross at the back, and the badge of Red Cross is usually on. When you see that badge, when you see that Red Cross reflector or the jacket, you know that this is a Red Cross person and they're there to help you. Yes.
No, I remember during COVID, that's when I last had SOPs. And I'm sure there's someone who heard about it and they don't even know what SOP means, and it is just like a beautiful word there. What does SOP mean, and what is in SOP? What is in that? Give us some details on SOPs and what people should be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, SOPs, in a nutshell, or in full, it is standard operating procedures. As she has mentioned, that we used to hear of them in COVID-19. SOPs, as you've heard, standard operation procedures, is how do you operate to avoid the spread of this particular disease. Back then it was COVID, now it's Ebola and Mpox. So the SOPs we have, the standard operating procedures, what we advise the public to do as health workers is, one, wash hands constantly with soap or sanitize if you can. Avoid contact, making body contact with people, handshakes, hugs. Yes, avoid, because as we've already mentioned in the discussion, these diseases or these viruses can be transferred by contact. So those are some of the SOPs we have.
Ms. Tantan, it's actually on that note, because it seems like Mpox is taking us to SOPs.
Yes.
How does it relate with COVID-19 in transmission?
Yeah, how it relates?
Is there any relation?
Yes,
Yes.
very much. First of all, they are both viral. They are virus. Yeah.
Okay.
When you go down to the details, and two, they are contagious in the sense that the one carry can easily transfer by contact, or if I was a carrier of Mpox and I touched this seat, traces of my sweat have remained on it, which was the same thing with COVID.
Yeah.
Because the virus is in your body, in your DNA, and DNA, I mean either fluids, sweat, blood. So if I touch here and I leave this place, the virus will stay lingering or hanging where I've touched for 2 days max. Meaning if you come within the time and touch, you've also carried it. It has somehow gotten onto you, just looking for a chance to get into you, which is ideally how COVID was. The only difference is COVID was also airborne, which Mpox is not. Mpox is largely physical. Yes.
But now,
We are
our
going
culture,
back.
Yeah.
Ugandans, we hug. In church,
Shake.
Yeah.
we shake. Offer each other peace.
Peace of the Lord.
Peace of the Lord. And I heard you're a believer, even
Very
quoted
much.
scripture.
Yeah.
How are we going to go about it? Is it even realistic, or are we living by the grace of God? Is it realistic that these SOPs can be adhered, and we try to help the churchgoers, the people who love to offer peace?
And Ramadan is here, you know.
I mean, how are believers now going to
Yeah,
work it
cool.
out, manage?
Okay. To answer the question, given the implication of this disease, Mpox, and it can potentially kill, because we've had people that have died, I feel like it would be a small price to pay to put our norms aside for the time being, because that's why they are standard operating procedures. Until we have this thing under control, I think it's possible to, when we constantly do what we are doing, for example, having this show, and we are telling people about it, Red Cross going out to communities, it will be hard because it's, as you mentioned, it's something we've been doing for the longest time. It's just our way of expression and showing love and respect to each other. So it will be hard. Before you know it, you've hugged someone like, yeah. So, but when we constantly remind people, it's something they can do. And we're not saying it's going to be forever. Just like other pandemics, they all come and go. That's by the grace of God, yeah? Nothing comes and stays. So just like Mpox came, it has had its toll. Perhaps it's phasing out. COVID came, it phased out, yeah? So it's just for the meantime. It wouldn't be hard for us to, if only people took it that serious, we can easily put
Ms.
these
Tantan,
things
a
aside.
quick one.
Yeah.
In your sensitization as Red Cross, have you found any people who are trying to treat this disease traditionally?
Self-treatment.
Very much,
Traditionally.
yes.
And what?
Traditionally, yes.
What are they
Okay.
doing?
What do they?
I know, because during COVID we steamed
The concoctions.
the concoctions. What is that people are doing for Mpox?
Well, for Mpox, again, as I mentioned at the start, how people died because of a lack of knowledge, that those that contracted and were not aware that it was Mpox or what it was, given our character as Africans, we are strong people. Yeah, we don't easily shake, and you know. So there are people that have contracted. We found them in communities that had, and they didn't know how serious it was. To them, they thought it was just a usual rash. So you find someone self-medicating, getting all kinds of tubes, putting, because they didn't know. Until we spoke to them, they knew that now it is serious. I need to go for, you know.
And also applied herbal medicines like.
There is one we met that, yeah, I can't discuss, but yes, he has been putting leaves that are crushed, showering those things. So, but largely, again, as I said, because people don't know, because they didn't know. Yeah.
Wow. Are there some challenges you encounter when you go to these communities?
Yeah, very much. Now, one, the challenges, again, as I said, the myths. You go to talk to people and they are already made up in their minds that this is a government ploy.
Or maybe quarantine is coming.
Quarantine is coming. So some of these challenges make it hard to communicate to some of these people. The good things, there are not many, but they are there. So speaking of challenges, that's one. Some of those people don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. And also, yeah, largely that's it. They ask for things that as Red Cross we are not yet giving. For example, someone tells us, are you giving us soap and sanitizer? And we are not yet giving that. We are here to inform you there's a danger in community. Let's, you know, be alert.
Well, we are drawing to the close of the discussion, but what would be your message to the public, especially over the weekend? Ministry of Health yagamba ati wawo omuntu omu yafudde Ebola ate tulaba nti Ebola ze Mpox naye wuuna naye atandise okuzannya kwegamba tetumanyi kyekiri okutuukawo mu ggwanga. Obaka ki bw'osobola okuba nga otutegeeza okuba nga twekuuma?
Well, ekisookera ddala endwadde zibaddewo era zikyaliwo. As I mentioned earlier, these pandemics have been coming and going.
What's the difference between pandemics and epidemics?
Pandemics and epidemics.
Pandemic
one
is
is larger,
globally.
Yes.
Pandemic,
And then so pandemic is on a large scale.
Okay.
Yeah, and the epidemic is, you know, smaller scale. But as I was saying, these things have been coming and going. Now we are dealing with Mpox and Ebola. Perhaps they'll phase out and maybe another will come. So the message we give, or I will leave with you, is you need to stay alert. Yeah, hygiene is one of those standard things that when you keep hygiene, you avoid most of these. Yeah. For example, constantly wash your hands. These are some of the cultures that can't hurt us, yet they will add to us. So if as a nation or as Africans we can dearly adopt some of these SOPs as a lifestyle, a lot of good will come. We shall protect ourselves from arrest, from a lot of things. Like how the Bible again mentioned somewhere that a prudent man foresees evil and hideth himself. Yeah. So it's largely what I'll leave with us. If we can observe hygiene and make it a lifestyle, these SOPs can be a lifestyle. And yes, and also the last thing is, of course, knowing that we are people and we definitely are kept by something bigger than us and more than us.
Jonathan, we love doing self-treatment. And regarding Mpox, it's really a critical disease. What message do you have for us? Tudukano netufunawaka Panadol ali elismanyaka antibiotic.
Now, the one message I have for people that love doing self-treatment is that you will not know how exactly to deal with this because you are learning about it yourself.
Yes.
So the best advice I can give with you is seek medical attention. And some people fear because of it's expensive, we don't have money, it's quite a situation, let's say in the nation. But you should know that medication on this or managing or treating Mpox currently is free of charge. You turn yourself in, you're treated, and yes, it's free of charge.
How long, if someone is to be taken into quarantine, how long would it take them until they recover from there?
It will take 2 to 4 weeks still.
Only?
Yes.
Talking about
4 weeks you'll be done.
that, the isolation center in Entebbe, is it enough? because you've been in the community.
Yeah.
We have one which is in Entebbe. By the time they get someone to, is it enough?
No, it's not close to being enough. It can take good numbers because reports have been releasing numbers that have been treated and released when they are free of this, but it's not close to even being enough because the minister herself also advised that people should make use of the public health. It's a primary treatment center, but it does need support, so that's why they're equipping public health centers to lighten the burden.
Ministry of Health really doing about it in terms of helping people?
Facilitate people.
Yes.
One, they are equipping these public health centers with the things they need to manage these situations, Mpox and Ebola, because the isolation center in Entebbe is the one that is equipped to handle such cases that require isolation. So our public health centers, the government hospitals, have not been equipped for this, but now they are doing it. So
I heard someone say that when you get this Mpox disease and you're treated, if you're a mother, you can't breastfeed the child. If you're a man, then you have to use condoms. Is that true?
that is true.
Okay.
Yes, to avoid the transmission.
But you say that even though you use a condom,
You can still
still
get,
transmit the
yes,
disease.
you can.
So-
It's chances.
So it's
you
not
can,
safe.
It's still not safe. Yes,
Because
have
of
yourself
the
treated.
sweat.
The thing is, avoid having intercourse with someone who has, or you suspect has, or if you suspect you have, abstain until you sorted it. That's the safest way.
Let me ask, if someone in the family has contacted Mpox, how best would you advise them as a family?
As a family, number one is going for checkup to know if they have also contracted it yet, because we've been with this person in the house, so there's no telling. Because in the house we use the same forks, same cups, same plates. There is no avoiding contact in family setting. I love to think so. When you find someone in the family, you report this. They will know how to do it. The people, that the health workers, they will first of all take the person in the isolation and also have you guys treated to know who has contracted it yet or not.
It's just like flu. When one person gets flu in the family, you have to treat
Actually, that feels like COVID, the way they did it.
everybody else.
Wow.
But I'm very curious also to understand if a child or someone in school got it, that means most of the pupils in that school would be infected with
They can
Mpox.
easily be infected, yes.
naye ate kati nze kyendabamu obuzibu kiri nti obubonero bwefaananiza nga obw'omusujja omwana agenda kukubiraga mami I'm not feeling well, you come and pick the child wokumekeza nga omutwalidde nga naabala noba. Do they do some tracing when someone has Mpox?
Yes, they
Okay.
definitely do tracing. If they found a case in a school, that whole school is ideally in quarantine because they need to track. There's what we call contact tracking. Someone that has had it, they need to know where I've been, who I've been with. They need to check all these people because they are potential carriers of this virus. Yes.
You talked about the rashes,
Yeah.
and recently I came across someone had, they look like mild rashes, but simply it's one of the, because it's one of the symptoms, I'm a bit scared. Now, does this rash look a certain way, a particular way,
Yes.
when it's starting?
When it's starting, it comes as spots on your body.
Small spots?
Yes, and also one of the starting symptoms are swelling of lymph nodes. Yeah, but when it comes to rashes, it comes as flat spots on the body.
Those
If you
are
notice
like
anything,
measles?
yes, like measles, and then with time they start becoming round.
Chickenpox.
Yes, they start becoming round. They get watery, and then as they advance, it becomes sparse. So, but it begins with spots like all over the body. Yes.
Let's close up with this one.
I know, right? So scary.
Mpox and Ebola. Can you just give us a relation between the two?
Well, one, they share dry symptoms. By dry symptoms, what I explained are constant fevers, constant headaches, body aches, general body weakness, before we get into the wet symptoms. And they are both viral, so they transfer by contact and body fluids. So that's a similarity between them.
Okay. But Ebola, it can't be transmitted sexually.
it can't be transmitted.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at me,
transmission-
Susie?
Why email about that?
No,
because-
part.
Because
People have to
No,
abstain.
by the way, it is a very serious issue because I imagine Jonathan has said that even when you use a condom, but now I'm imagining this because you said a casual sex is one of the things
Yeah.
that have really made this spread so wide.
Yeah.
And now I'm imagining this sex worker who has identified that fine, the genitals have issues, but they want the money.
Exactly.
So the economic situation in Uganda
Also.
today, do you think has been part of?
Yes, very much. It has been part of the spread
spread.
of this because while we're doing field work, there are cases we found. I'll give an example. There's a gentleman we found whom Mpox has evidently shown, and he's within his people. He's a border rider.
Oh, God.
So the border riders, the other border riders have been trying to push him away, telling him, "Man, stay out of us. Yeah, you're sick."
Yeah.
And then his point is, his defense is, where will I eat?
I know.
So he's trying to keep his work going, yet he knows he has, So the economic situation, yes, has contributed.
And such a person may not tell a client who doesn't know
Yeah,
that
a
they're
client who
sick.
doesn't know.
naye
Keep
lowooza
spreading.
bodaboda ng'oyo wakyaba atidde ofuna medical attention.
I wouldn't call it. Okay, yes, it could be that Atide is in fear of getting medication because one, the medication comes with isolation, meaning no work. Because his point was, where will I get money, or how will my people eat? I want to presume, yeah. So he's thinking about isolation. That's one, and then also he could also be thinking that he has to spend money, which I've answered no, it's free of charge. So yeah, those could be some of the points.
So treatment
It's free of
is
charge
free
from
of charge.
any health center.
Public health centers, yes.
Naye ate
Public
kati
health center, you mean government,
Government
hospitals?
hospitals, yes.
But Jonathan, our governments also know the
You pay
Mbagamba
something.
kidogo.
Those ones have been there, but I can neither confirm nor deny them. So, yeah.
Okay, so friends, what will be your last remarks to the public, especially ngeri Mpox, Ebola twamutegedde nti owe yafudde kati ne Mpox naye wuyo atandise okuba nga afumba.
They should abstain. Anyway.
Susie, are you sure?
Yes, because he said that you don't know. You may not know. It comes out after 2 weeks. And anybody can spread it. But I think it's high time now we go back to the SOPs. Wash your hands regularly. Be serious about it. And be mindful. Oh, stop hugging. Stop handshaking. It's going to be a hard one. But we have to put it into consideration. Our health comes first.
Zee, let me hear from you.
I remember in 1993,
Oh, take
early
us there.
90s,
Yes.
when Ebola broke out, and we used to go to church. That time I used to go to, yes, and we would, the peace of God. And people would really took it up seriously and would say, peace be with you, peace be with you, peace be with you, without handshaking. I think we can still do it. It is something we can still do. We don't have to struggle with it, but also to the schools, looking out for the children. The statistics from UNICEF say that the children from 10 to 18 years are the ones that are most infected by the Mpox. And there is a reason why these statistics are high in children, meaning that these SOPs must be followed and given to schools. Schools have to also take it up very seriously because it is something that can come from school and spread to family and to the community. So we should take care of it.
Oh yes, our guest Jonathan, just in a second, any last recommendation to the public?
Again, as I've mentioned over and over again, let's observe SOPs. Avoid body contact, physical contact with people, whether they are infected or not, because sometimes there's no telling that they are. Yeah, and yes, likely that's it. And seek medical attention when you suspect.
Wow, it's been a great discussion, and I believe that every single person, wherever you stay, wherever you work, wherever you live, you play a key part in containing this disease of Mpox. So you and I have a significant role in fighting this epidemic disease. It's been a great discussion having that is Mr. Jonathan Ntavazi, all the way from Uganda Red Cross Society. So be very keen and very careful, and that's all we had for you today in the Sunrise Show. I remain Angel Walker on the Sunrise Show, and of course, see you tomorrow, same time, and that is 6:45 to 9 a.m. From us to you, we say bye-bye. And up next, we have kindergarten.